Okay, so let's start drawing the wiring of the two charge controllers. We know that this configuration using two charge controllers is a standard in the solar industrial. The black panels marked in blue are the LED light driven solar panels. So that's what that represents. It has 145 volts, and we'll show you where we got that from later. But at this time, it has very little amps, milliamps, but it has a high voltage. So let's do the basic wiring, how they would do it with a solar panel using two charge controllers. We only have the battery terminals and the solar terminals in these PWMs. So let's take the black wire, and since we're on the right, draw a line down to the black terminal. Okay? Now, because this terminal is going to take power from both the charge controllers, and we want it in a parallel connections, this forces the voltage in amps to go indirectly to the battery. Okay? So you want to take the other black wire and just simply connect it down. Okay? That's an industry standard, and that's called parallel. Now, here, we are now going to add the red wire. So the red wire is going to go down from the positive terminal, and then we're going to take the positive terminal of the other charge controller. No, excuse me, I did that wrong. We're going to take the positive of this charge controller and go way over here. Okay, that's how it's supposed to be. And then we're going to just simply attach the other charge controller. Both charge controllers are now hooked up. But then you say, what happens to the positive and negative to the other side? It's not recommended that we just loop it together like that. Can you do it? Yeah, you can get away with it, but the solar industry said not to do this. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to take the positive, bring it down. Let's get, did I erase that? Yeah, I did. Let's get that again. Okay. And let's get a black and do the same. Okay. And we're going to put our inverter there, and we'll put that inverter in later. Now, the solar, since we're on black, let's say okay, and let's get a red, and let's do the red. Okay, now the solar panel is connected. This is how you're going to connect your two charge controllers. Now, here's the thing. You're going to use a voltage regulator, and I've shown you these things. We'll put it in here later what they look like, but all you're going to do is take two extra wires, and let's do the red first. Loop it right over to the charge controller. Let's do black, and take black from the black terminal and loop it right over to the charge controller. Okay, this is very easy. Now in between these wires, the black and the red, you're going to put your voltage regulator. It's going to step up the voltage and it's going to give you the amount of amps you want to take from the battery. That's why we call it amp injections. So we'll show those components next. We just wanted to show you the diagram and how it should be properly wired.
Most people in solar have never heard of the two-charge controller method, and if they have, they think it's only for oversized systems. But this method has a surprising history. Back in the late 1970s and early 80s, off-grid pioneers began experimenting with ways to get more performance from the small, expensive panels of the time. These weren't corporate engineers. They were hands-on tinkerers, often living far from the grid, determined to squeeze every drop of energy from their setups. One early figure, still mentioned in old solar forums, proved you could run two charge controllers not for more panels, but for smarter control over power. At first, two controllers were mostly used for redundancy. If one failed, the other kept the battery alive. Later, large systems found they needed two simply to handle the current from massive solar arrays. But tucked inside those uses was a hidden advantage. When you connect two different solar panels, you also have two completely different electrical personalities, different voltages, different amperages. Give each its own controller, and suddenly they become two separate power sources feeding the same battery bank. Here's where the magic happens. One source can set the voltage, while the other source sets the amps. This is called amp injection. Think of a high-voltage panel, maybe running on LED light indoors, acting like the voltage pump to bring the battery up to its proper charging level. Then imagine a second source, like a low-voltage panel or even another battery, acting as the amp boost, pushing current through its own controller into the same battery. The two controllers are not fighting each other. They're each doing their job. One holds voltage steady, the other supplies extra current. The battery doesn't care if volts and amps come from the same source. You've seen this principle in everyday life. When you jumpstart a car, the donor battery provides both volts and amps. But imagine if the volts came from a small, efficient solar panel, and the amps came from a totally separate source. Suddenly, you don't need a field of panels to get real charging power. Once you understand this, you can see possibilities the industry rarely talks about. You could take a small high-voltage panel, something producing, say, 145 volts, and pair it with a second controller connected to a low-voltage, high-amp source. The result? Strong voltage from one side, strong current from the other, both meeting at the battery for efficient charging. This also works with indoor setups. An LED-lit solar panel can be tuned to output voltage, while the second controller injects amps from a battery or secondary panel. In testing, this method has repeatedly shown it can replace racks of panels with just a small, smart combination of sources. So why don't solar companies push this? Simple. There's more profit in selling you 40 panels than showing you how to match one high-voltage panel with a small amp booster in your basement. In the next video, I'll walk you through the actual wiring, how to size your panels, and the exact settings that make voltage and amp separation work safely and efficiently. This is the step where theory turns into real power output. Now that you understand the role of the two charge controllers, let's move into the real setup. The positive and negative outputs from your battery bank will run directly to your inverter. This is the bridge between stored energy and usable household AC power. It's important to remember, the two charge controllers are both feeding the same battery bank, but each does it differently, one giving you steady voltage, the other adding the amps. Some people hear this and think it's free energy or that it breaks the laws of physics. It doesn't. What we're doing is simply taking two separate energy sources and letting them work together without interfering with each other's job. The high voltage panel is still producing watts, and the amp source is still producing watts. When they combine at the battery, you get more total watts available to the inverter. Nothing is being created from nothing. It's just efficient power management. This is why the battery is the perfect meeting point. Batteries don't care where the volts and amps come from. They only care about the final balance of both. By separating the control stages, You allow each source to operate at its optimal point. The inverter then pulls from that stored energy to deliver AC power to your home or tools. Because you can tune each controller independently, you can maintain the right voltage range for battery health while keeping amps as high as your system can safely handle. In practice, this means your high-voltage LED lit panel can maintain charging voltage even under low light, while your amp source, another panel, a small turbine, or even a secondary battery, keeps pushing current in. You can run heavier loads for longer without adding dozens of extra panels. In the next section, we'll cover safety, sizing your inverter, protecting your wiring, and making sure your controllers are balanced so neither overloads the system.